Hello chess and art lovers, I'm Grandmaster Denes Boros, and here with me is Nicholas Kondoprias, partner at the Pan Art Connections and ex-director at the museum at Herakleidon.
Thank you for this wonderful invitation. It's truly an honor to be here. This project started from a communication in May of 2015, and it resulted in us being here today. Pan Art Connections is something that actually developed while I was the director of the Herakleidon Museum in Athens, Greece, where we were moving our collections around the world to help fund the museum for various educational programs, outreach programs, and so forth. We have a very standoff approach in how we work with museums. We provide them the art and a foundation, let's say the curatorial materials, a foundation. But then what's important for us is that each museum puts their signature on the project. We want them to feel that this is their exhibition. And we're just a support team to be there for them to help it happen. So everything that's happening in this lovely exhibition truly has the signature of the World Chess Hall of Fame on it.
How did Vasarely's work come to the Hall of Fame? How did that bond?
Well, it was, again, internal inspiration from the World Chess Hall of Fame. I heard the story and I heard it was wonderful that a number of years ago this beautiful chessboard was acquired that was designed. The image is an image of Vasarely on the foundation of it, and as well as the pieces.
I'm looking at that chess set and I can see that Vasarely really loved to play with lights. Can you tell me more about his way of designing and working with art?
Well, what Vasarely did, and he falls into the category of the artist that even though he was not a mathematician, he was fascinated by how mathematics and the use of mathematics can create this wonderful illusion. Now Vasarely has been labeled the grandfather of optical illusion art, and that's everything in this exhibition is two-dimensional. But there are so many works here that as you look at them, and depending on your perspective, your angle of view, you actually get the feeling that it's kinetic, that it's moving, that there's actual motion in the artwork, or that there are different layers in the artwork, that either the artwork is going in, a concave, or a convex effect. And this is all through the use of mathematics. So these artists, they become fascinated by this, and they seek this out of how they can use mathematical theories and representations that it can come out in their beautiful artwork.
It's very interesting to see how chess, art, and even psychology is connected. Because when I think about optical illusion, I often think about Fritz Perls' Gestalt psychology, which actually focuses on illusions. And they actually say that the whole is bigger than its parts. And when I see the artwork of Victor Vasarely, that's the first thing that pops into my mind. It's what you see in it makes it a real art. It's not just the art piece in itself.
Exactly, but each piece is an integral part of the end illusion. You remove one piece, and it would no longer exist. So yes, Vasarely he knew that. So everything was so well designed. In fact, as an educational tool in the museum, it was very important, and we were very fortunate to have this collection, because literally for any age group, from kindergarten student up to PhD candidate, the artwork can literally be deconstructed and be broken down into layers. So dealing with the child, you can teach them the concepts of shape and color, your basic square, circle, triangle, and how they interact and how they communicate with each other. We're then going to a higher level of mathematics. I mean, there's wonderful theory in all of this work. So it has again, in many ways, it goes on to Vasarely's, let's say, mandate in his life, is that art was for everyone, art for all. Okay, so this was very important for him, that it was for the people.
That's very interesting, because just like Vasarely, I'm also hailing from Hungary, and what actually strikes me that he was born in a relatively poor family, so the idea of sharing became his idea.
Yes, yes.
And it's interesting that he decided to move to France later on,
Yes.
but he never forgot where he came from. And therefore, I think that is one of the reasons he wanted to share his knowledge. So he was also part of the art concept of Bauhaus. But his artwork is very close to other artists like Asher,
Yes, yes.
and maybe in some ways Dali, but that's kind of a different concept.
Yeah. Well, again, as I said, we were very fortunate at the museum that the founders basically, they allowed us to use these collections not only to travel but also for exhibits. So one wonderful exhibit that we did, and this was right at the turn of the financial crisis in Greece, where we needed to take a position as a museum as what role we were going to play in the crisis. And we decided that we needed to focus on education. So we curated an exhibition that was called Art and Mathematics. And it was focusing on our two major collections, one of Victor Vasarely and the other one of M.C. Escher. And we made various changes in the museum so that we could accommodate more students because the demand was there, but we just had to take it to a different level. So we added more educational rooms, and it got to the point that we were on a yearly basis providing educational programs to roughly 16,000, 17,000 students. And they were coming during the weekdays on school trips, and on the weekends there were other programs. So on a yearly basis, we were educating about 25,000 students. And one thing that I was very passionate about is always being sensitive to the financial crisis in Greece, that a museum visit, even though it's a small amount, many people literally could not afford it. So my responsibility was to find the funding so that we could make the museum visit free of charge for these students. And that's something that it was the right thing to do. I was very passionate about it, and it helped. By looking at art, it allows you to get out of the textbook. It allows you to, and of course having the right person explain it, that's key. And that person to be passionate about understanding the mathematics in the artwork. So all of a sudden we were seeing little light bulbs, of students that had in their mind, I hate mathematics, and all of a sudden they were saying, I understand mathematics, something that now I can embrace. And that to me is, it's just very rewarding. As a person who's so accomplished in chess, and it's really an honor to be with you. When you look at this art, and with your mind and your life being so focused on the game of chess, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind?
It's how many emotions Vasarely is trying to express. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The lighting, the way he's trying to express emotions on the chessboard, that's the first thing that hits me. Because even as a chess player, it's not just chess pieces, it's pieces filled with life. And when I see that reflected on a piece of art, I feel that they kind of get me as a grandmaster and as a chess player.
Wonderful. Well, for us, it's an honor, because before this partnership began, to be quite honest, I never looked at Vasarely from that perspective of chess. So we are very appreciative, because you've opened up an entirely new world for us. And this is something that makes what we do so exciting.
And there's also a little small story that I want to tell you that actually popped into my mind while watching a few of Vasarely's art. And this story is from Michael Tal, who actually played a game. He was a world champion, and he played a game against Vasyukov, and he was in a deep, complicated position, and he didn't know what to do. And then suddenly, Čukic's art, a poem sprang into his mind, and it was about a hippopotamus stuck in the marsh. So he started thinking about this poem instead of playing chess, and thought, how can I drag this hippopotamus out of the marsh? And while everyone was watching him, and instead of calculating, he was concentrated on that poem. And suddenly he realized, okay, well, we'll just let it drown. So after that, suddenly the solution popped into his mind. And so he solved and won the game just because of a story that just sprang into his mind.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So that's kind of the things that I see in the art of Vasarely.
But looking at the artwork together today, I think after telling me that story, you looked at it and you said, now I look at this and I see the hippopotamus trying to get out of the water, yes, out of the marsh. So that's so that you've had your special experience.
Yes,
now.
I had mine.
And that is, I truly believe Vasarely had that in his mind, that art is for all. It doesn't have to be only for the elite, the educated. Everyone, in my opinion, can relate a personal experience, a personal a memory in their life to some form of art. Now, there are so many different kinds of art, and there's the aesthetic issue of what is nice and pleasing for each person. So this is a wonderful example of how this is your special experience, and it's something that now you'll never forget that. And now every time you'll think of Vasarely, you'll think of a hippopotamus.
Yes.
So, and every time you see a hippopotamus, you'll think of Vasarely. So that's lovely.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you, Denes.
So step by into the World Chess Hall of Fame to experience Victor Vasarely's artwork.